Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Chat on Sunday. My very special guest today is Amy Conn. She is a veteran yoga teacher, and her specialty is in yoga for wellness. Amy is a cancer survivor and the author of the book Revealing Grace, which chronicles her cancer journey and return to wellness. Amy is a 30-plus year school teacher, and she holds teacher licenses in special education, physical education, and as a yoga instructor. And she is here today to chat with us about her own journey, the power of yoga, and a very unique and special retreat that she will be helping to host. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. It's a chilly, rainy morning in Salt Lake, and I'm just happy to be cozy inside.
Now, what part, are you in Salt Lake City? Is that where you live?
I am. I live in the Avenues, and we live in this great old house, 1875. Just great old house. Mm-hmm.
I love the Avenues, and I remember when my sisters were in college, and they were. I had one sister just living in Salt Lake City and working, and another one in college at that time, and they always talked about the Avenues and wanting to live in the Avenues. They have the cutest apartments and the cutest houses, and it's just a really unique little area of Salt Lake.
We feel so fortunate to be here. We have a wooden house, and you don't find many of those. I mean,
oh, wow.
And we have a chimney that goes down the center of the house, and the whole house wraps around that chimney.
Oh,
all the way up from basement all the way up to the attic. So it's four floors. Lovely.
Oh my gosh. Like the heart of the home, right?
It really is. If you take a marble, it's like the haunted shack in Disneyland. Well, not very far. That's it. And you could let go of the marble, it rolls right to the center of the house.
Oh my gosh.
But we have it working. The fireplace is a working fireplace. So as you enter, there's the fireplace, and it just brings you into a warm room.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds amazing. And, you know, the reason I wanted to have you on is because, well, first I wanted to, at the end, we'll talk about your retreat, but that was one thing that caught me. But the other thing was that I wanted to have a conversation about yoga and the power of yoga. And first of all, letting people know that I got to know you at our retreat that you were at. So because it was in Utah. So there you go. We all
was so much fun. It was an eye-opening retreat. Oh my gosh, that was such a great retreat.
Oh, well, thank you.
And your niece was awesome. She was terrific as an instructor of yoga. Really, really thorough.
Oh, thank you. I will pass that on to her. If she doesn't see this, she'll be thrilled. So why don't you kind of start by letting people get to know you through your own spiritual journey and kind of what brought you to yoga in the first place?
I have to say that I think I was tested with how powerful yoga as a practice was for me personally when I went through I call it my cancer adventure. And there's nothing that's like that kind of tips you into like, okay, well, let's see. We're going to add on this little layer here and see how you respond to this life experience. And to be honest, I had a practice since the 70s, really, but jazzercise was maybe more compelling at the time. And then I, of course, went through an aerobic thing, but there was always this yoga piece that was just subtly being practiced. When I moved to Utah, it was how I found a studio that resonated with me. It helped me through 9/11, married to a firefighter, you know. And it helped me through 9/11 with all the emotion that went on with that. And it just, as the practice just brought up all of these feelings and then put a place for all of them to go. So there was, it's hard to talk about it in a short period of time. Difficult in that there's so much to it. I mean, there's an 8-limb process of yoga. Only one of those limbs is like a wagon wheel. Only one of them is the physical of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the other parts that layer and helping you put it all together in your body and have it sit and resonate, and then how you respond to it. So when cancer hit, literally, it was my daughter's 5th birthday, and my husband and I don't know what we were thinking. We decided to, like, let's take all her preschoolers in the 4-year-old class ice skating. And I don't know why we thought we could handle 16 ice skater 4-year-olds. I don't
I
know
was
why
going
we
to say,
thought.
as a former preschool teacher, I think that's not a very smart idea,
I mean,
but very ambitious.
I had babysitters hired, and I was like, okay, we each have 2 kids and one in each hand. We could do the rink. I mean, this was, I don't know why we thought this was smart. And literally, I had gotten a phone call because I had gone through some tests that were suspicious tests. Like, I mean, I had, so I was this suspect of some, um, well, a lump that was in one breast but not in the other, and I had to go forth with my feelings, and so was waiting for a phone call to kind of like confirm you need to come into this next appointment. The phone was in my back pocket. I was doing laps with kids, and Michael had like his group of kids, and the babysitters had their groups of kids, and we were doing, we were making it. We were going around the ring, and the phone call came. I answered the phone. They said, your next appointment's on Tuesday. And I put it in my pocket, and I went by my husband, who was holding on to his 4-year-old. And I said, we have an appointment on Tuesday. And he goes, and our life is moving forward. And he's like, that was it. It was like the beginning of this next adventure. And it hit us right in the middle of an already active adventure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It hit us with a becoming 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. And now we're going to add cancer to the equation. And I have to say, I had an active practice during that time. I felt like it was a team of people that were helping me. The doctors were fabulous. I went from one appointment to the next. You kind of are a zombie there for a little bit, and you're just handed the appointment sheets, and then you're going to the next appointment. They wouldn't let me leave unless I had another appointment set up. But it was a year of being bald and going through radiation and 2 surgeries, and in the end, while we were going through it, this was the other part, is that I wanted to make sure everybody understood this. Is this that cancer isn't added to your life and all the rest goes away? It would be so convenient maybe if that was the case, because then your whole job was just going to appointments, maybe.
Right.
It's a series of appointments. It's a heavy appointment.
Yes.
I mean, heavy appointment. You're many appointments. But your life continues. So it's just adding to your already busy life. And we were co-oping schools. We were active in our children's, education. I was tutoring at the time. I had my own tutoring practice. My husband's a firefighter. It was just like, and here we are. And we saved a lot of money on shampoo that year.
Wow. And it's, I have to go back to something, Amy, because it keeps ringing in my head.
Mm-hmm.
If, we know, right, that none of this stuff is kind of coincidence, that things are kind of, life is very, we can see in hindsight that things are not coincidence. Why do you think it was at the very, very beginning of this journey that you were surrounded by children? Isn't that interesting? Little children.
Well, I would have to say my go-to job in everything, and the energy I feel and the resonance and the wisest of people are children.
I know.
Because they just say it as it is. what was it? The
They're
incredible.
authentic. They live in the moment.
Right.
They do all the things we're supposed to do, right?
Yes. So I'm looking at my list of all the yoga limbs, is social codes of conduct. Those are the yamas. The niyamas are personal codes of conduct. The kids are like hitting marks on all of this stuff, breathing exercises. You don't have to tell them once to at more than once to slow down your breath, breathe with me. And they just follow along. They just do it. Whenever I do a yoga practice with my students, Shavasana is what we end. It's called corpse pose or the final resting pose.
That's my favorite.
I'll have 90% of the kids drooling, like they're asleep. It is the middle of the day. There's like noise going outside the gym room and they're out. They just follow. They are the wisest of souls. They really, really, really are. And during Abigail's preschool class, our preschool teacher was just fabulous. She's actually in the book because we couldn't have done it without her. The Incredible movie was out, and we talked about how I'm like the stretchy mom. My husband's the firefighter lifting the trains, and then we had a brother, and then Abigail was shy, so she was like Violet,
right?
So shy. But we went around the room with these little kids, and we were all like covering our hair, like how beautiful I am with just my face. So it doesn't matter if I have hair or not. And then I don't know if you know this, but when we got the DVD, there's they do shorts, and there's this one short movie called Bounden, and it's about a sheep who gets teased when he's sheared.
Right.
And we were like, this is the perfect movie. This is perfect. And the jackalope, which was like the sage rabbit, he would say, you've got a pink kink in your think. And because his skin was pink,
right.
Yeah. And it was like, this is the perfect movie. We couldn't have hit it better timed, and how to explain it in a 5-year-old body, mind, and spirit, and how to explain it in a 7-year-old mind, and
I think, and I only saw that short, I think 100 times because Cassie was five or six when that movie came out, and she was all. In fact, one picture that she had with Santa, she's holding a little Elastigirl that she wouldn't part with. So
yes.
I
loved Alaska. I loved her. I still love the Incredibles.
I know that's absolutely, and Pixar is so good at hitting all the marks. They for really, adults, for kids, you cry, you laugh. It's great. So I wanted to ask you. So tell us what kind of, when you're in such a vulnerable place as having cancer and kind of not knowing what's coming and kind of riding that wave, what spoke to you about yoga? Why did that speak to you so strongly, becoming, during that journey and afterwards too?
I was so grateful that I was in a studio that already knew me, and so and I wasn't the only one. There were 3 of us going through, and I thought that was a high number for such, I would do power classes. Of course, there was all the classes, the restore, whatever. But there were 3 of us, and I called this the bandana gals, because all of us were kind of in the back, and we weren't in the back because we were embarrassed or anything. We were in the back because chemo heats up your body so much, and that I wanted to be by a wall in case I was fainted or in case I felt I was getting weak, and they felt the same way. So we just already had a team of people called the Bandana Girls, and we were like, we could do restore, we could do any of the other classes, but it was power that we were drawn to, because for me, I needed to activate my body and feel like I was still strong, you
Mhm.
know? And for me, that's what I needed. I would say when I taught to a cancer yoga class, I would always ask them, what are you guys wanting today? But I would throw, and I would throw the spectrum of yoga at them. Like
Mhm.
we could do 30 minutes of just meditation. We could do restore. We could do a heavy power class. What do you want? And you tell me if I'm all over the place because I tend to go that way. One of the things that I heard Sterling say this morning, which I resonate to 110%, is your cells can heal on a cellular level.
Mm.
So when you're praying or when you're breathing or when you're not in fight or flight all the time, when you are meditating, you're healing your body. And my oncologist is somebody I still see today, and he's like, you're way past the 5 year mark, and I'm like, I'm not going to ever stop coming to you. Unfortunately, I'll be there every 6 months as long as my insurance pays. I want to see. He's like, I'm fine with that. And his name is he's Indian by descent,
Mhm.
by
Mhm.
birthright, and he gets what I'm saying on many levels. And I'm like, I still want to take this handful of vitamins. I still want you to allow me to practice, yoga. I want to sweat. I want to bring my body out. I want to feel my body in a positive way. I want to feel normal in one element of my life, and this was
Mhm.
one element that allowed me to feel like me still. A bald me, but it was still me.
Right. And when you what was interesting to me, and I wonder how it relates to your own experience, when we were at the retreat and Katie was doing yoga, what she talked about was how many emotional breakthroughs that were happening.
Yeah,
People reaching emotional parts of themselves that had been buried,
yeah,
trauma, a lot of trauma, things like
yeah.
that coming out and coming to the surface. And what is it about yoga? But also, was this uh, part of the thing that drew you in about yoga is that kind of working through the emotions as well, not just the physical.
Right. The physical, yeah, like I said, is just one part, and it allows perhaps your body to settle so it can get to the other parts. There's this one that and Dharana is cultivating interperceptual awareness,
Mhm.
and I think that is the intuitive sense of who you are inside and what's happening around you, and maybe the puzzle pieces of it all. There was
Mhm.
a time that I just I remember going. I was at a retreat and I was on a walk with a friend, and um, And I said I scrapbooked like a fiend during the when the kids were little, and maybe I did that so they would remember me. And then I burst into tears and I was like, "Ugh, I cannot I cannot go down that road."
Right,
I mean, I was in it, and I cannot speak for other people's cancer experiences.
right.
I'm just one person, and in my cancer yoga group, half of us are with us still. The other half have ascended. They're not here on earth anymore. And I know that they felt the same way I do about I want to raise my kids. I'm here because I want to live this life. I want to live this life fully. We all want. There's this, but there was this. I felt like I could think maybe one day in advance, and the yoga helped me not go crazy with my thoughts.
Mhm.
And it helped me live one day in advance, and then I
Mm.
would one day progress and one day progress. And it was putting all of it together. The samadhi, which is the union the communication, the union of the divine. I absolutely would hike up the mountains and stand at the top going, okay, what do you think if I was bargaining, like,
Right.
if I
Right.
do this, you know, but there was also this peaceful, like, just meditate at the top of the mountain. I mean, I I was training for a marathon when I got diagnosed, and I asked my doctor, I cannot not run this race. Can we
Mm-mm.
please schedule everything after the race? And she said, we'll do the surgery between when I was in training of mile 20 and 25, but then and you could ride a bike to keep your aerobic part going. But for the chemo, we could wait till after you finish the finish line. And
Wow.
for me, it was just like I have to. I know that there's some things I needed to do, and some things I just needed to like resign to, but feel. I had to feel my body and how the energy was resonating inside. And for me, I am I'm teaching 100 kids every single day, and so I have to have that. You're on, the frenetic energy of making decisions with 10-year-old brains and
Mhm.
feelings and lots and lots and lots of feelings, and all of this, and managing that. It's not easy to come down quickly. And so for me, I have to be very physical so I can come down quickly, so I can learn to come down
Right.
and then sit with my body. We always have a tool, pranayama. We always have that tool with us. We carry that tool with us, and that's just breathing, just the power of breath. The To answer your question, I'm so sorry. I go off
No,
all the time,
no, no, that's okay. No, that's all right.
but there are specific teacher certifications, and I actually support this. The trauma informed yoga instructor.
Uh-huh.
So a co-friend, a friend of co-teacher, and we teach burn camp, and we've been doing that for 15 years. It's affiliated with the fire department and the University of Utah. There's this mesh of caregivers, and we go to camp together, and so we have all of the campers are burn survivors, and talk about being a little kid and going through a traumatic event and taking them through yoga, which they really look forward to every single day. You don't want to get them to feel the feels and then leave them. Okay, that's the end of class. We're leaving now. I'll see you tomorrow. You don't want to like drop the mic on them. You want to actually transition into feeling and then transition into being here and still
Right.
at camp. It's super important. You don't want to ever just leave someone high and dry. So that's just an example of one trauma informed teaching style.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And because that was surprising to me. And I want to bring in the family a little bit here,
Yeah.
or bring in
Yeah.
because we are live, and I want to just kind of talk about kind of what they're talking about. And first, Craig says that the first KFC was on 51st Street in Salt Lake City.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. And Craig says that Rosalind Carter died. She just passed at 96.
Oh, you know what?
Bless
I
her.
always felt like Jimmy was waiting for Rosalind, and if he was going to go, she was going to follow, but it went the other way.
Went the other way.
He-
Interesting.
he-
But yeah, bless her. I mean, what a great couple. I mean,
oh my gosh. Like what, 75 years of marriage? Something.
yeah, unbelievable.
I
So
know.
bless her, and prayers for Jimmy, because I'm sure
He's
I
there.
can't
He's
imagine
with
maybe
her. He's
yeah,
with her here on earth, and
yeah,
there. He's with her.
I totally agree with you. Mother of three gotcha says, my daughter is 34 and she has breast cancer.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, our prayers are with your daughter, mother of three gotcha. and everybody's giving her love and support, which is what I love about this community. They're so loving to each other. They help you. They jump right in and help each other.
Right.
So we'll be
I
thinking.
do want to say that medicine is the gentrification and the change of the protocol that I went through is not the protocol of today. It is forever improving itself. I feel very strongly that the treatment that mom is receiving is
It's her
different.
daughter. It's her daughter.
A
Yeah.
daughter, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I was 43 when diagnosed, and I went from breastfeeding to breast cancer like in about a year. And I felt like, wow, these guys are active. Like, oh my goodness. And you just want to go, okay. So I have complete faith. I had to balance the Eastern with the Western. I had to put them together. I had to really listen to my doctors, to my husband, to my team, to myself. That was super important. And everybody, we all would have these meetings all the time. And my husband went to every single appointment. He would write all my questions and then the answers, and I could just focus on the doctor. That was a gift.
That's wonderful. And I think that is a great point about how we really do need that community support, family support, community support when we go through something
Absolutely.
like this. We don't do it alone.
No, yeah. The yoga community for me was very, very strong, very, very helpful and loving. And I think it opened up my heart
Yeah.
space. It just really opened me up, allowed me to feel, allowed me to express. It was a safe environment. It it really called in intuition. It called in. I would see. I would see messages all the time. They would come in the form of, I don't know. I find heart-shaped rocks every time I hike, every single time.
And we're experiencing having our own experience with Western medicine right now with my daughter trying to get through what she's going through. And I am constantly asking her, what do you think? What do you feel? What does your body say? Because I think it can be so easy, especially when we're scared or we're worried, to hand over our power to a doctor. And a doctor is just a doctor. They're, they know what they've learned, and they definitely have experience, but they cannot possibly be expected to know every single person and every single need that person has. It puts too much. It can rob you of your own power, and it also puts too much pressure on them, thinking that they're the one.
Right.
So what advice do you have for
Well,
your daughter, and for Cassie, and people that are relying so heavily on Western medicine? And how do you get back to do the 8 prongs of yoga, which you can share with us, that things in the wheel? Do they address all of that?
I think so. So my mom is a cancer survivor, and her mom passed away from cancer because I think it was even before chemo when she was diagnosed. And she was in her 40s. My mom was in her 60s, and I was in my 40s. We had the BRCA test, and we were negative. But I feel like, this like BRCA1 and BRCA2 are known. BRCA3 is not, and it was right here in Salt Lake that in Research Park, where Myriad Research Hospital Park, I'm not really sure. That's where they found that gene. And I just feel like, well, we've got to be somewhere in there. That's 3 generations. I just feel like we're there,
right,
linked there somehow. One of the things that my mom and I talk about all the time is, Mom, you hire the doctor, you could fire the doctor. They work for you. So, like, really, if your needs are not being met, if they're not finding time for you, if they're not listening, then that just means we haven't found the right one. It's super important to be heard. I actually had a female doctor who I started off with, and then she got diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, during my treatment.
Oh,
So
wow.
she took a break because she had also young children. And then that's when my doctor came in, the one I have now. And yet I felt blessed to have them both because one got me in through half my protocol, which is one sort of treatment, and the
Mhm.
other one took me out of it. And also I also had my ovaries removed, so I became menopausal overnight. Um, just because my breast cancer was estrogen run, and it was nothing was decided overnight. It was, well, I had to sit on it, I had to feel it, I
Right.
had to research it, I had to talk it over. It was a team effort. Um, so regarding like balancing, because you don't want to be wild with your thoughts, you don't want to spiral. Those spiraling thoughts and worry. What is that fear acronym? False impressions and false emotions. I don't know. There's like an acronym of fear, almost seemingly real, something like that. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But yeah, and I still doesn't mean I don't have anxiety or fear or worry. My daughter would attest to, like, yeah, you worry still. Um, but I don't worry about cancer so much, and I don't worry about a big wave falling on me and
Right.
the other shoe dropping. I don't worry about that. Oh, I also wanted to say this. Okay, so there are other things that I did that really helped me besides yoga that helped me with my healing self. They
Uh-huh.
were like I would have regular massages.
Oh,
I like a scheduled massage. That really helped. I was every other week with my chemo, so on the good week, it would help like really cleanse the tissue, getting the chemo out of the tissue of my body. That was super helpful. It took me to a deep place. She did astro traveling with me. Like she was a gifted, she was
wow.
a psychic massage therapist. I always felt like I
Oh
got
my gosh.
two
Oh,
for
that's
one, two
great.
for one. She was a great massage. I had her 10 years. She has since passed, but she's a wonderful lady.
What a great idea. We need more of those.
I know.
We have
Wouldn't that be?
a psychic massage.
I know. Boy,
That's
what
awesome.
but
I love that.
also I did acupuncture. That was super helpful
Mhm.
because neuropathy can occur with hands and feet, depending on the type of radiation or the type of chemotherapy you're getting.
Mhm.
Every breast cancer is different from the next, so that's why you said the doctor can't know it all. is
Right.
is because he is going your blood type and your markers are unique to you. So
Right.
your chemo treatment is going to be unique to you.
Mhm.
Some people their cancer does spread. It's I was sent by the American Cancer Society to Washington D.C. when I was in 2006 and 5 in 2005 and 2006 and and there was a, a button we all wore that said no more death or suffering due to cancer 2015.
Mhm.
That was because of the trajectory of research. That's where they were taking us. Like we would live with stage 4 cancer longer. And and I don't know if we ever met that marker, but I do know that I have a lot of friends that are in stage 4 that are surviving longer. They're being treated longer. They're
Wow.
living healthier. They, you know, I don't, because everybody's different, there are no crystal balls, but I do feel like there are things that you could do to help your body inside and out. My husband would pick me up from school to take me to treatment, and he would hand me a juice, and it was not a happy juice. It was like celery juiced with a pear,
Oh,
and
it's
we had
a
bread.
concoction.
But I would drink it because we had read that celery juice helps cool the liver, and I was getting chemo, which heats up my body, and or that was how my body reacted to it. It was the heat. So it was just like, I ate. I was a pescatarian. I still am. I never ate fat. You just want to eat close to earth. If I Oh, that was one thing. Now it's all coming back, of course. My favorite thing to do in Costco is to visit all the sample carts. My husband will shop seriously, and I'll be like sample cart shopping.
It is
Like
incredible. Free
sample
food, I'm there.
I'll try that. And but I noticed that because some of it wasn't in the organic form of the food, my body would react like
Oh,
like I just downed a ton of sugar or something. So
right.
my body was super sensitive, and I was like, I can't do the samples at Costco, So I had to, go half calf with my coffee, and I had to like really eat and drink clean. Maybe a glass of wine, but maybe not. Maybe the blood sugar was too much. Like, really had to like treat my body clean, like it was a, template or a palate that I had to like preserve nicely or treat well before I could add components to it.
And it's such good advice. And it's the way of us as human beings we always take stuff for granted. When the lights go out, we're like, oh, I appreciate electricity so much, and da da da. And then it comes back on, and we're like, oh, just back to normal. We do it all the time, right? We kind of take advantage of these, and our bodies, especially if we've been healthy or if we are healthy for a long period of time, we do take it for granted, and we kind of. And so I think that sometimes we have the opportunity when we do have something wrong or something happening that we can refocus. And have you kept a lot of the things in practice that you did? Do you keep a lot of the food practices, a lot of the,
Yes, absolutely. I still drink half calf. I have high quality coffee.
Nice.
No, I'm still a pescatarian. I try to eat as close to earth still. And a lot of it is just the process of aging. They say the medicines save your life, but they kind of, going menopausal at 44, 43 really, because chemo puts you into menopause. And then we made it permanent a year later with the oophorectomy. But then you've got all those symptoms like, achy bones. I'm Tim Conway coming out, shuffling across the floor in the morning, waiting for so being physical and being active, I feel like the Tin Man putting oil in my joints, like I got to keep things lubricated, got to keep things, so. Okay. So again, I also have a naturopath. I have a naturopathic doctor in addition to my oncologist, in addition to my general practitioner, and my asthma doctor. I have all these people that like I would like this. Is this something I can do? How do I help this part of my body? I didn't put all the work onto one physician. Okay, I'm looking at my.
Well, I have a quick question about because yoga has, like you mentioned, in the 70s it was kind of one thing, and now today it's something else.
Yeah.
And it's very mainstream. You see the girls walking, or not too many guys. Mostly I see girls walking or women walking with their yoga mats and stuff, and they there are a lot of YouTube things with very young, very fit people, and which it's such a great thing for your body. But what would you say to people that can be intimidated by that kind of thing?
Oh, sure.
And what I noticed that at our retreat, people, Katie had chairs there for people that couldn't get on the ground, and you could do yoga in the chair. And so could you speak to a little bit about that, how it is for everybody, and really anybody can do it?
Right. Everybody can. If you can breathe, that's all. If you're sitting in a chair, breathing, you are doing yoga. That's part of it. That's part of what we're asking you to do. So, sure. I once brought my mom to the quality of life class. That's what this called, the yoga for cancer class. And she goes, "Honey, I haven't been on the floor in 25 years." So I don't know if I get on the floor, I don't know if I can get up.
I've had days like that. Yes.
And I've also had amputees who've attended my class. So people with no legs or one arm. This is why I went back to school at age 50 to get a physical education degree, because I wanted to learn very specific things about modifications beyond my yoga teacher training. And that I love that part. That's my favorite part is of yoga, of teaching yoga, is the modified body part. Like how to modify a class using all these props and ways, and still get the effect that everyone can receive.
Right.
No matter if you're wearing the Lululemon, outfits or not.
Right.
And no matter what your body size is, no matter what your experience is, that's my favorite classes are those. So literally, and at the retreat, I was dying to be her co-teacher and go around and just and like put a pillow here and a block here.
Right. Right.
Because you don't ever want people to leave injured, and people do. The pandemic, our yoga studio taught on YouTube. We taught on Zoom, and we taught all these different ways for a year, maybe 18 months, I think it was. And some people have kept it on
Right.
whatever. And the thing about that is that it's often directionally one way. It's hard, you can, if you have a private class, you can see what they're doing. In person is my favorite, because you as a person have a certain energy, and then they have a certain energy, and then that exchange too. And that would be in any teaching environment, is like, I feel that there's some sadness going on with this person.
Right.
But we're gonna just breathe through that right now. That what that person needs right now is not a handstand.
Right.
What that person may need right now is some breathing.
And I have this up here, this Bernie 444 said, yoga heals, I am changed forever. And then, we have Joni who said, I sprained my ankle doing yoga. This type sounds good. I think sitting in the chair is something that is just more fitted to the person. And Linda says, yes, 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 I recognize the value, but I am unfit and 70. It can, like I said, it can intimidate when you see these, very young, fit, and you think, how could I do that? I don't think I can. I'm not in that shape, so how can I start? But I think you're giving us a good idea of what it actually is and what it can mean to each individual, because we are individual. We're all gonna, and that's why there's so many different types of yoga too. I mean, I know that Katie said hers was tantric. Do you have a specific yoga that you gravitate to, or is it a combination?
I like the combination. Like at the retreats, I'll often teach. I'll listen to the needs of my students, and if they'll be saying, I really just want to sweat this afternoon, can we do something where we sweat? And sure, I can teach to that. In the morning, though, I may be doing a walking meditation, or I may be doing a mindfulness. So there's this mindfulness-based stress reduction training that I've gone through, and I like to integrate some of that into my yoga classes. For the person that feels unfit or not ready for the hot yoga or whatever.
Well, and Coyote Rosenbaum says, I am a left-handed amputee. So that, whoops, I'll put this one up there. So yeah, so go ahead. So yeah, for someone,
you wanna do your research with the yoga studio that's around, and say, and go there and maybe have a conversation with the owner or with the teachers and say, what do you think would be a good place for me to begin? When I had my surgery, I had a lumpectomy, but it was really close to my lymph nodes. I had a sentinel node removed. My arm couldn't go up very high, and I felt like, this compromised body, right? And yet I needed it so badly. So I did yoga restoratively. And I would walk my hand up a doorway and walk it back down and just slowly breathe into that space. Feel the mind body connection. That's so important.
Right.
And sending the messages to let, like, heal, heal, heal. And then I remember going to my doctor's like, oh my gosh, your movement is like full. How did you do that? And I was like, yoga, breathing. The most powerful class at that time was the restore class, because I had a compromised body part and I wanted to, like, honor it. Oh, again, these thoughts come in. So I did have lymphedema. My mom has it worse than I do, because the older treatments are like, let's take it all,
Right.
but with me, they took very little. And then they just took what they needed. They had dyes that indicated how far the yoga had gone, how far the cancer had gone. So they
Right.
just took what they needed, right? So I had lymphedema, and I would wrap my arm a certain way and wore a sleeve and did all this stuff. But I was disengaged from that body part. I was like divorcing my arm. Like, all the rest of me is doing fine. My heart's doing fine. My legs are fine. This arm is not fine. This breast is not fine.
Right.
And divorcing part of my body. And I was going through this, like, 7 stages, or, the stages of acceptance.
Yeah.
What is that?
Grief.
So I was in anger and grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the second I started integrating that body part into my whole body and loving that arm again, the lymphedema went away and has never been back. So I have to say,
Wow.
what was that? Was it just loving that part, saying it's okay. You've gone through a battle wound,
Right.
you're still mine.
Right.
So,
And that's so interesting. And I was going to ask you about that, Amy, because I don't consider myself like a medical reader at all, but I have gotten the message over and over and over again for different reasons for people, but the same message of that we have the tendency to want to pull away from our body when it's not well, to pull out of it, to pull away. And what we really need to do is go into it.
right.
Get what it needs, ask it what it wants, become fully engaged. Is that what you found as well?
I absolutely did. And it was through the quiet times that it would present itself. I like to say that when I lay my yoga mat out on the floor, I present that day's problem or that concern that I have to the mat. And then I practice on the mat. And then by the end of class, I often have, like, I know what I'm going to do. Or there's, like, I'm going to investigate this avenue. I'm going to go to, like, I've come up with an idea. And I often say, let's present the problems to the mat. Let's work on them and then see where we end. Maybe something will illuminate. And you are allowing your body to be calm so other things can, bubble up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love this conversation, Amy, and thank you so much for being on. I want to talk about this retreat coming up because that's what caught my attention. It is so unique and so interesting. So tell people about it, and so let's talk about that.
So I always like to pull in together all my healing modalities, and one of them is horses. Horses are a high order healing animal. They really are. Whether you ride them or you just talk to them, the natural horsemanship, that relationship and understanding the horse. The horse is a powerful animal, and So it's called Writers and Writers, like writers and writers.
Right.
And
Right.
I have an editor that I work with. I do these weekly blogs, and she is she's an amazing editor, and she's an amazing writer, and she just got her doctorate in mythological studies and depth psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute. And so she has this, her name's KK Baker, and she has worked with oh my gosh, I'm just going to read it because there's so much that she does. Her work includes ecological explorations of Greek pantheon, particularly the Dionysian archetype, the wild feminine, the American myth and indigenous traditions. She's just
Wow.
and she's a tarot reader.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But she's a gifted writer, and she really allows us to. So now we've practiced yoga, we've met with these horses, we've gone on our ride, we're in Moab. And
Beautiful.
we're
Yeah.
in this petroglyph house. That's what it's called, the petroglyph house. So you could walk from the house to petroglyphs, which is pretty amazing. It is, I'm looking at the dates because I want to get them right. So,
And I should say Moab, Utah, just so people know where Moab is. Yeah.
Moab, Utah, yep.
Mhm.
And it's February 15 through 19.
Mhm.
And there's a chef.
It
And
sounds amazing. I mean, it really does. And it hits every mark, right? It hits that kind of that love and empathy with the horses, and that kind of moving things through the psyche with the writing, and then the body, the all the body connections, body mind spirit connections through the yoga. It hits like every mark. It just is so cool. I love it.
I'm very excited for it. I really feel this will sell out. In Moab, the Canyonlands, you're kind of in the midst of it all. You'll get the dark nights. You'll get the low crowds. You'll get longer horse rides. We'll get opportunities to be with the horses, just even if you're just feeding them apples. You'll get I want anybody to be fearful of the weather and in during this time of year, because I've gone before. Sometimes it's this red earth, and then you may get a sprinkle like powdered sugar on the red rock, but by afternoon everything's kind of warmed up, and it really makes for a comfortable outdoor adventure. I just feel like it's going to be and the house that we got is like spectacular, and we can sleep up to 16 people,
Oh, that sounds
which is a lot.
a lot of people. That is a lot of, yeah, for one house. That is,
Mm-hmm. And there's a fireplace. It's everything. So on amyconnyoga.com, there's the events page. That's where it talks about the retreat. Writers and writers. I'm just really excited for this.
it sounds amazing, Amy, and it's reasonable. I mean, I
Oh
don't
my,
want to. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it is really reasonable for everything that is included. It really,
I
really
know. I'm looking at the price and I'm trying to find it. It's like five. Oh, because you can go. You don't have to ride horses. If you don't want to ride it, it's a little bit cheaper. Those that want to ride horses, we have another price for that. If you want to just go visit the horses, it's like a very inexpensive fee for that. Yeah. So, yes, it's under 500, under $600 for the whole thing,
yeah,
and
that's
that
right.
includes. Yeah, yeah.
It really is. Well, thank you, Amy. And I put everything in the description. So your website is there for all the services that you offer personally. And then I also put the link for the retreat if people are just interested in that. And I want to thank you so much for being here. Are there any parting words for anyone that is even maybe thinking about trying yoga for the first time, or is working through a physical issue that maybe they're maybe thinking yoga could help with?
I would say if you have, if you're interested in trying yoga, I would definitely go and do your research with the studio and meet with somebody to talk with, to describe what's going on with your body. It's super helpful for the teacher as well as for the student. You want to be successful with it. Walking through the door of a yoga studio is half the journey.
And I just real quick, just because I don't want to leave anyone out here that's asking a question. Firefly says, I would like to find a form of meditation that would be complementary to meditation, but I don't know anything about yoga. So do you have a quick idea for her?
So there are just classes that are just meditation classes, or a yin class is often slow moving, very, very, very few poses. So yeah, you could find a meditation. If you want to be in person, there are meditation classes that are offered. Most studios.
That's great. Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you, everybody.
I hope to see you there. I would hope to see you there. Maybe you and Cassie.
I would love to come. I would love to come. I'm going to try to figure out a way to swing it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think I'm going to be off part of February, or, off. I'll have more free time in February. So I'm going to try to swing it. So maybe I'll see people there if they decide to come.
That would be so great.
That would be so fun. I would love to. Well, thank you so much, Amy. And thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday. And don't be afraid of yoga. Don't be afraid to try it. It could be the best thing you ever did for yourself. So, all right. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Sunday.
Bye-bye.
See you again soon. Bye.